one of the Lunchroom. I'm your host, Calix George Jr. In addition to 101.1 FM radio, you can get us at our website. It is rcisaintlucia.com. That's the URL. And as well, we are streaming on YouTube. And of course, you can just search for Radio Caribbean International on YouTube. Please be sure to, of course, subscribe to that page as well. Number to call in to tell us what's on your plate today. It is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. As well as our WhatsApp number, it is 724-0008. You can message in or call in to that WhatsApp number. Again, the number is 724-0008. Now, today, a bit of history. In the year 312 AD, the Roman Emperor Constantine the Great is said to have received his famous vision of the cross and the beginning of the shift towards Christianity being adopted as the national religion in the Roman Empire. In 1795, Pinckney's Treaty, or the Treaty of San Lorenzo, was signed by Spain and the United States, establishing the southern boundary of the United States and giving America rights to navigate the Mississippi River. In 1938, on this day, DuPont announced its new synthetic polyamide fiber will be called nylon. In 1962, on this day, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, it was a Saturday, a Black Saturday as it was known, an American spy plane was shot down over Cuba, and the Navy dropped warning depth charges on Soviet submarines. 1979, on this day, St. Vincent and the Grenadines attained its independence from Great Britain. 1982, China announced its population had reached 1 billion plus people. And in 1986, on this day, the British government deregulated its financial markets in what was called a Big Bang, enhancing London's status as a financial capital while increasing income inequality. We now move on to our dish of the day. The daily dish is brought in the kind compliments of our good friends at Tiles Plus.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. Did all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasway and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down, don't mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Grosile, and Slack Street in Dufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to our program here at the Lunchroom. And of course, it is Vendredi Creole as we move into our celebration of International Creole Day, which is the last Sunday in the month of October. And Journée Creole, of course, has been expanded beyond just the celebration of that day, and it certainly is encapsulating an entire month of different activities and festivities. No longer is it just that day itself in even the communities, as the host communities have put on effectively an entire month of celebrations of different aspects of Creole culture and our Creole heritage. And, of course, the epicenters or the polycenters of the celebration this coming weekend are that of Canaries, Soufrière, and the Mabuya Valley in Dennery. So we do hope that that goes on safely and with some good balance and not too much excess. And let's hope, of course, that nobody's going to be experiencing any accidents on the roads, and in particularly as given the fact that we're facing some inclement weather currently, that people need to exercise caution as well, certainly as they enjoy themselves. Now, it's a very busy time for the entire the entire Windward Islands, and that includes our neighboring island to the north, that of Dominica, the Commonwealth of Dominica, they are very soon marking their 45th anniversary of independence, come November the 3rd. And we do hope, of course, that they have a very good celebration. Of course, this entire period is part of their overall celebrations with their Creole Music Festival, and of course the other activities that are being put on in the run-up to the event. I think there was a TV Village event that was being put on at the Botanic Gardens in Roseau, and the that country is spending, I think, close to $8 million on their 45th anniversary celebrations, as they, of course, encapsulating a number of different elements of their national identity at this time. And over to the south, in our neighboring island of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, today is their Independence Day. They're marking 44 years since they, in fact, attained independence from the United Kingdom. And both islands, in the windwards, of course, we've had a very interesting and long history of resistance, and different aspects of it are still very much present in the culture today. And we certainly need to think about ensuring that our the young people who are coming up have a good sense of identity, and they have a good understanding of themselves. In the case of Dominica, they still maintain a very strong Kalinago presence. Of course, the Carib territory was carved out of 3,500 acres in the northeastern side of the island as a sort of an area where it would still have some protections and rights for the indigenous Amerindian people of that island. In the case of St. Vincent, they had a very similar story as well, but during first, what they call the First and the Second Carib Wars, in fact, the entire northern part of St. Vincent around La Soufrière was supposed to be in the Carib territory. But as a result of that last period of warfare in the 1790s, the British effectively took an entire people known as the Garifuna, and they, in fact, forced them to migrate to Central America, where that tradition, those people still live to this day, and of course they still protect their language, Garifuna, and a lot of their culture. So certainly, we do hope that at this time, when we're speaking about so many issues with respect to culture, with respect to heritage, that there is going to be some good recognition for the contributions of the very many people who have and continue to make this region clearly a very unique space. Now, into St. Lucia, and in particular the south of the island, unfortunately, the issue of killings and crime continued into last night, yesterday evening, resulting in the loss of 2 lives from the town of Vieux-Fort through what seems to have been a drive-by shooting, which occurred somewhere around 9 o'clock. And we certainly have to extend our condolences to the families of Mr. Thomas Louisi, as well as Mr. Jimmy Emmanuel. Thomas Louisi, a resident of Bridge Street, Vieux-Fort, and Mr. Emmanuel, a resident of the Bacadère at Vieux-Fort. And these gentlemen, of course, seem to have been simply enjoying their evening, and unfortunately have been targeted as part of what seems to be an ongoing crime wave that is still impacting the community of Vieux-Fort. Mr. Louisi was, I understand, a former Sumerian. He taught at the Entrepot Secondary School. He also taught at the V4 Comprehensive Secondary School, where he recently retired from. In fact, that secondary school, just we noted this week, was celebrating its 60th anniversary. And of course, his nickname Ohms suggests, of course, that he in fact used to teach electrical technology and was still teaching through the National Enrichment Learning Program, Enrichment Learning Unit, NELU. And of course, that is unfortunate in the situation that an individual who is, of course, so very well known and liked amongst the community, losing his life so tragically. And I'm not even too sure where that brings us in terms of the overall tally, unfortunately, of homicides on island, but I suspect we are very much nearing the 70 mark, which already would put us somewhere around the current record for any one calendar year as goes homicides. And that is nothing to be proud of, certainly, as we're seeing this figure. And it would therefore mean that we quite likely are amongst the top 5 in the world when it comes to the homicide rate. And that is, of course, greatly concerning that we're seeing this continued trend, of course, when it comes to the issue of crime and homicides. And it just goes to show the challenges and how difficult it is to stymie this matter of criminality, especially once it has gained a certain level of momentum. It is effectively like a fire just continuing to consume, and it's going to be very difficult, to be able to abate it. But abate it we do need to do. And so let us continue to appeal to individuals out there who are in possession of information, who know the perpetrators, who know what is going on. And there is that duty and responsibility, that national duty, and not necessarily even to yourselves, but potentially to yourselves and to your family and to your relatives, because you don't know how this thing necessarily expands. There is that duty to be able to cut and pull that plug by providing evidence and providing information to the relevant authorities. Otherwise, we are going to continue to see this this trend, this cascading of criminal activity, because it's not going. These individuals who are engaging in it, they're not going to pull back on their own. They're not going to be able to be, because they clearly don't seem to have the. They probably also engaged in this for monetary purposes as well, and the issue of hits and guns for hire. It's clearly impacting us right now, and so the responsibility of good citizens to, in fact, indicate what is going on, and it's very important at this time, because what we are seeing and what we are apparently witnessing as a continuing situation of where individuals may very well be innocent, but because they may somehow be associated with or know somebody somehow, they become targets too. And so that is something that we certainly have to be very, very, very concerned about. These types of trends, we've seen it happening in some of the homicides earlier on in the year, and that is clearly not something we want to have continuing as we grow as a nation, as we want to be able to do well as a nation, as we want to be able to celebrate things like Journée Creole and have good times, and this is not very much helpful in that regard. That's our dish of the day. When we come back, we'll take in some calls.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One Tales for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tales for your balcony. Come down to Tales Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tales Plus, Tales Plus, Tales Plus. Big tales with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A plus. This all kind of tales. Come down to Tales Plus. We also glad gas and vanity. Box, dust, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tales on island. Trust me. We are located Lance Road in Castries, Bosses Jules and Slack Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939.
And welcome back to the Lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. The number to call in to tell us what's on your plate, it is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. Our WhatsApp number, it is 724-0008. Again, 724-0008. Now, during the sword-turning ceremony for the Gros-Islet Northern Divisional Police Headquarters, mention was made by the Prime Minister in his address at that event of some other pieces of infrastructure which are certainly important to the issue of law enforcement and tackling crime and security in this island. And certainly these matters have been outstanding for quite some time. And it's captured in a story by the St. Lucia Times, which I'll just share very quickly. Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre has disclosed that St. Lucia is all set to have a Halls of Justice and a new police headquarters in the next 2 years. Pierre spoke at this week's sword-turning ceremony for the Gros-Islet Police Headquarters. He said next January, the government will begin constructing the Halls of Justice, quote, for the men and women of the judiciary. In the following year, construction of the police headquarters in Castries will commence. Pierre also said there would be additional repairs to, quote, every police station in the country. I have full confidence in the ability of the men and women of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, said Pierre, and I can expect that they will do their work, and I will demand that they do their work, he added. Quote, I expect them not to be caught in the sideshows and not to allow petty political differences to disturb their work, said the National Security Minister. Quote, and when they fall short, do expect that I will pull them up, because we are giving them the tools and the resources, and we are doing all we can to improve conditions of work for them, Pierre declared. Pierre said his administration has spent more money on the law enforcement and enforcement agencies in St. Lucia than any other government. Citing the upcoming infrastructural upgrades for the country's security forces, he urged members of the police force to strive to leave a legacy after their term of duty has ended. He noted that the government has purchased 2 more vehicles for the police. In addition, the government has allocated $26 million to upgrade working conditions for emergency personnel. Quote, we are the ones improving the conditions for the men and women of the protective services, declared PM Pierre. Quote, our government is a government of action, he asserted, and that is why we are going to finish St. Jude Hospital, said the Prime Minister. He implored the contractor hired for the construction of the Gros-Islet Police Headquarters to do a good job. Quote, your responsibility is to construct a building within costs and on time, and I hope that you can fulfill that responsibility for the people of St. Lucia, he added. Quote, we solemnly believe in the separation of powers, and our actions show that, and in spite of all the misinformation that you may hear about the judiciary, all the frustrations and lies, stay focused, and let's get the job done, Pierre asserted. And that piece coming from the St. Lucia Times. And the matter, of course, of the police headquarters has certainly been a long-standing one. As you would note, the approach thus far has been to sort of divide the island into 3, with a northern division, which is largely Gros-Islet Barbano, a central policing division, which is taking up as well police headquarters centered around Castries and as well a southern division based in Vieux. And so those northern and southern divisions have similar capacities as the central division, which is where you would normally have had services like CID, criminal investigation, crime scene management areas, vulnerable persons units, and SSU, and traffic units, as the case may be. And so the strengthening of these the other police stations to provide that kind of support in those regions to ensure that there's a much quicker response and coverage around the island. But certainly, when we look at the police headquarters, in the case of Castries, you can see the challenges that have existed and continue to exist in housing the police. They are currently somewhat scattered around in a number of different buildings around Castries, and the need to bring them together in terms of proper management and oversight is, of course, very important in terms of getting a proper home for the police. As we've seen, many of these buildings were plagued by issues of indoor air quality, and of course we saw back around 2020 or so, or was it 2021, the demolition of 2020, I think it was, the demolition of the police barracks. Those barracks were built somewhere in the 1950s, I believe, and they got demolished along with the Royal Jail complex as well. And since then, of course, it has meant that the police are not really with a proper home to be able to deliver the kind of police services that one would expect. So it is certainly a very important move to ensure the infrastructure is available to support the work of the police. In as much as we certainly don't want this idea that police are just staying in a police station. That's certainly not the case. But they need proper barracks. They need proper facilities. You would have heard the NIC chair mentioning, of course, the importance of fitness facilities being included into the new Gros Islet Northern Divisional headquarters to ensure that the police have the opportunity to exercise and train. And that is, of course, really important in terms of their ability to respond. Of course, we do know that policing is quite often a very physical undertaking. Being on the ground and having to deal with criminals does mean that you've got to be nimble and agile, and so it's, of course, really important to look at the entire and the holistic aspect of the individual that is the police officer. So ensuring that there are quality pieces of infrastructure to support the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, that is certainly very important as well. And of course, we're seeing other police facilities that certainly do need to be upgraded. And we can think of, let's say, for instance, the issue of marine police and the work that they have actually been doing. There's been a suggestion for quite some time that there should perhaps be some sort of a marine police presence on the East Coast, given the issues of interdiction and the work that they have to do in patrolling that very desolate eastern coast, that some sort of presence there and making it a little easier for them to respond is certainly something that has to be considered in terms of the long-term expansion of police facilities. Even the current Marine Police base, no doubt about it, is perhaps a bit inadequate as well. And of course, we can also look to the matter of having spaces for training of the police force. That also is very important. I think the last bit of work significant work had been done maybe way back in the late 1990s or so at the La Toc base, and potentially the need to redevelop that area has been brought on over time. So let's hope that it can be part of a holistic strategy looking at where it is very critical to be able to have police resources. The other thing too, of course, is, and comes back to the issue of policing being done out on the streets, not just on the matter of police vehicles, but even also the need to have mobile policing units where they can actually have the ability to support major events that are happening as the case may be. So things that are a little bit more flexible, that you can move them around. That is, of course, being used quite a bit if you've got a major event, like let's say in Canaries, and you need to support, you need to have more policing capacity in that area. Something like that would, of course, become very important as you have these major events. And of course, if you've got a criminal hotspot, being able to bring in the necessary assets as well, that's also very, very important. In fact, just to make a liaison there, when you look at Israel's Iron Dome, that Iron Dome is effectively based on mobile units, things that can actually be moved in as is needed and positioned to be able to deal with where there is a current crisis or current attack. So you do need to have some flexibility as well when you're dealing with the kind of equipment and infrastructure that you require. So that certainly has to be part of the long-term policing capacity that we need certainly in this country. And in addition to that, the matter of having a police headquarters would, of course, also mean that you need to have a command and control capacity and the ability to monitor in real time what is going on around the country. Should certainly be one of the things that we would like to see, I would imagine, within such a facility. And you see how some of these operate quite often, where you've got a central, it's almost like your central processing unit, so to speak, and you're seeing a lot of information coming in, and how you can respond to that information, whether it may be coming in from CCTV, whether it may be coming in from radar, whether it may be coming in from telecommunications interceptions, whatever the case may be. But having that ability to respond as a command center and to be able to communicate with your assets out in the field, that also is very, very much important in modern policing. So let us hope that a lot of these things are being looked at within the context of upskilling, upgrading of policing, and really creating a modern police service that can support the work that is going on. Quite recently, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, I noted, had actually spent a night out on the water looking at on a Coast Guard vessel, seeing the work firsthand and the experiences that these individuals of the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard service are actually engaging in. And it's certainly important to get that first-hand look and to understand how policing is being done, modern-day policing is being undertaken, and certainly as well how you deal with issues such as coastal, protecting your coastline and dealing with issues. Of course, in the case of Trinidad, they are very much on the front line of a number of different issues. Not only are they dealing with drug trafficking on those waters across the Gulf of Paria in particular, but they're also dealing with the matter of illegal immigration. And so it certainly does require a real emphasis on looking at that matter. We here, primarily, our major challenge, of course, is that of narco trafficking. in our waters, and of course with that narco trafficking also comes lots of other illegal things, including guns, and so that issue certainly has to be also front and center in terms of our own efforts. Now, we're due for our weather report, and I think it's going to be pretty timely because we have been seeing quite a lot of inclement weather. So we're going to get that update from the St. Lucia Meteorological Services at this time.
Island style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. We'll have to make the right choice. Island style. Whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island style. Oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in Island style.
We have tiles and thin sets, mixes and ground. Everything you need is on the outside. For the best price and the latest style, take a little drive down to Island Style Car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. Quality, price, service, choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Belarus, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Cass Street, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. Or call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
Hurricane season can be unpredictable, but your business doesn't have to be. In the face of adversity, you need a partner that goes above and beyond. Choose the path of resilience and certainty with CNW Business. Through disaster recovery as a strategy solution, CNW Business will safeguard your critical data, maintain seamless communication channels, and help you bounce back faster than ever before. Visit our website, cwcbusiness.com/myopenbusiness to learn more. Remember, a safe business is an open business.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And also, of course, to the 1.1 is now time for your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style, Talent Bath, and Flow. The forecast valid for St. Lucia for the next 24 hours. Winds will be blowing from the east-southeast near 12 miles per hour or 19 kilometers per hour, becoming light and variable or calm at times. The weather, mostly cloudy skies with scattered showers, which may be heavy in some locations, and isolated thunderstorms. Residents and motorists in areas prone to flooding and landslides are advised to be vigilant and exercise caution. There is an advisory here which reads small craft operators and sea beavers are advised to exercise caution due to above normal sea swells. And the forecast for the Lesser Antilles, partly cloudy to cloudless skies with scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms. We now move over to the tropical weather outlook. A trough system will continue to cause cloudiness, scattered, moderate to heavy showers and isolated thunderstorms over the Lesser Antilles during the forecast period. And this was the weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style, Talent Bluff, and Flow.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Hurricane season can be unpredictable, but your business doesn't have to be. In the face of adversity, you need a partner that goes above and beyond. Choose the path of resilience and certainty with CNW Business. Through disaster recovery as a strategy solution, CNW Business will safeguard your critical data, maintain seamless communication channels, and help you bounce back faster than ever before. Visit our website, cwcbusiness.com/myopenbusiness to learn more. Remember, a safe business is an open business.
Style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. We'll have to make the right choice. Island style. Whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island style. Oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in Island style.
We have tiles and thin sets, mixes and ground. Every Everything you need to sort the house out. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style Car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah.
Belarusa, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Castry, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. So call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. Of course, the number to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, it is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. I think we've got a call coming in. Was it coming in on our WhatsApp? Okay, no, looks like it wasn't. But yes, we, of course, are also noting Independence Day over in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And we do wish all Vincentians here on island as well a very, very happy Independence Day. Let's take in a call at this time. Good afternoon and welcome to the lunchroom. What's on your plate today?
Yes, good afternoon. I heard your comments on the recent efforts to increase the policing capacity and the fact that they got vehicles. But I was just wondering if consideration could be given to establishing a mounted police division on horseback. Because there are places where horses can go that police vehicles or 4x4s cannot go. And apart from using them for ceremonial purposes, they can also use it for other policing activities.
It is possible.
Because I'm also concerned that in the future, we might have some criminals who are actually on horseback.
Okay. Well, thankfully, we haven't seen too many of those, but anything is possible. So thanks for raising that point, caller. And, of course, I think the island of Barbados has a mounted police battalion. I'm not sure what it's called, or regiment. Of course, the very famous Royal Canadian Mounted Police. They have a long-standing tradition of using horses as well. A lot of it, of course, has been more in tradition, and in some instances, it is used even in urban settings. As well. So, yeah, it's something that the police can certainly look at. Of course, the matter of using canines is also a really important one in dealing with drug interdiction, and, of course, their sense of smell and through training as well. They can be really important in identifying illegal drugs, as well as even, if they can be trained to smell the gunpowder, they can potentially also identify guns. And so all of those certainly have to be looked at and to see whether we can expand those policing capacities. Traditionally, of course, things like the police, things like the military, it's where you see quite a lot of research and development being used as well to see how you can use the latest technology to be able to make interventions and to be able to be a step ahead of criminals. And that's, of course, really important. That we want to believe that the state can be ahead in these matters. Of course, another major issue that and it's something that businesses and everybody really needs to be very much concerned about is that of cybersecurity, and that is becoming a lot more prevalent. Issues of identity theft, issues of how you manage these things, money laundering even. All of these are other areas which require specialized skills, policing skills, and it really shows how it is going to become very important as well that within the region we begin to group our resources. That's why we've seen institutions like Impacts coming on stream, so that it can be a little bit more of that. And we've had that in the past, and of course people of a certain age would know that there was a time when a lot of police officers would be coming in from the outside, from Barbados in particular, and maybe we've got to look at seeing how we can ensure that we've got some standardizing as well as capacity that will perhaps only be able to be achieved if we are working as a collective in our islands. Of course, we've been thankful in terms of some assistance through the Regional Security System, the RSS, in just that matter. So certainly it is something that we do need to look at when we're looking at the issue of policing. Now, just onto a very short other matter, that of hospitality ambassadors. And that effort is ongoing through the Ministry of Tourism. And they, in fact, have started that off in an effort to improve, in particular, the cruise tourism product on island. And so they've engaged in what is an intensive 2-week training session. And once that is actually completed, we should be seeing some hospitality ambassadors getting on to various attractions and sites as early as next month, as early as November, according to the Tourism Ministry. And according to the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, Ms. Donalyn Vite, the Hospitality Ambassadors Program aims to address concerns regarding certain deficiencies in the service of cruise visitors. Quote, "We have coined the program, the Hospitality Ambassadors Program, and this program is designed to improve the cruise sector product," explained Vite. She said this latest development, quote, "is to ensure that we have persons on the ground who are capable and competent to provide direction to the visitors and to give information, make recommendations, and to be able to have and forge a link between the ministry and the visitor." Vite explained that the initiative aims to provide visitor satisfaction and position St. Lucia as one of the leading cruise tourism destinations. Initially, the areas where the ambassadors will operate will include major tourist areas in Castries, Grosley, and Soufrière. While the Castries areas will include Point Seraphine and the city circuit, the Grosley hub will cover the Rodney Bay Strip and the town centre. Vite explained that the training session would help the ambassadors acquire knowledge of the tourism industry and St. Lucia's history. Vite anticipated further training after the first working cycle and disclosed that the ministry intends to sustain the ambassadors program. She also said there are plans to teach the ambassadors foreign languages and take them on overseas familiarization trips as part of the training module. And of course, that effort coming on by the Ministry of Tourism to be able to provide on-the-ground assistance to visitors, and I suppose to assist in meeting and greeting and ensuring that individuals can be directed to certain places and attractions, and to have interpretation at those locations as well. We saw some of that occurring, I think, some years ago, and certainly in the Soufrière area, it had been brought forward. And then I think that program had been stopped. So let's hope that, of course, it's a good opportunity for some other individuals to get involved in the tourism product. And, of course, it can very well potentially yield new opportunities because we quite often see, of course, many visitors simply just roaming the streets and perhaps not being directed to potential areas where there can be economic livelihoods being benefited. And so that, of course, is certainly something that we can look at. Now, on to some international matters, that of the issue of Israel-Palestine. We have seen that going on, of course, since those attacks which happened back on the 7th of October, about 20 days ago. So we're heading into 3 weeks tomorrow since that attack has occurred. And what we saw coming out of that was an attack on Israel in the first instance, a very coordinated attack, largely by Hamas, and Hamas forces based in the Gaza Strip, which of course we know is this very narrow strip along the Mediterranean Sea, which is part of the Palestinian territory. It has a border with Egypt on the southwestern end, and beyond that, of course, is the state of Israel on its north and eastern boundaries. It is very populated with over 2.5 million, close to I think 3 million Palestinians. It is the conditions there, of course. Unfortunately, we see quite a lot of poverty, quite a lot of challenges because it's a very small state, not very much by way of hinterland, not very much by way of opportunities for agriculture or any types of significant industry. And so, of course, it's also has been pretty much controlled. All access into and out of Gaza is controlled by the Israeli state, with the exception, I think, of on the Egyptian side, where there is in fact a crossing. Now, and even so, there is in fact Israeli influence there as well. Since then, of course, on the 50th anniversary of the Yom Kippur War back in 1973, on that anniversary, saw this attack occurring. It involved nearly, I think, 5,000 rockets being launched by Hamas forces out of Gaza. And there was also a breach of the Gaza-Israeli barrier. And you know, of course, that Israel has been investing in considerable barrier systems and separations between the Palestinian territories, and some people would say really imprisonment really of the Palestinian territories by walls and fences, as the case may be. And there was in fact a breach of those that barrier set by Israel, and nearly 2,500 Palestinian militants in fact came into Israel. They ended up killing close to 1,400 Israelis, including at a music festival that was going on in that area, in that southwestern part of Israel, with about 260 people being killed at that festival. As a result of it as well, nearly over, I think, 229 or so people were also taken hostages, and that included soldiers as well as civilians. And so they are, in fact, currently being held captive within Gaza. Since then, we have seen a continuation of fighting, and this primarily, of course, the vast majority of it has been targeted at Palestinians who are living in Gaza. And I believe the figure of persons dead within Gaza has now reached upwards of 7,300 individuals. In fact, nearly 19,000 people have been wounded. Many others are simply missing. And there are, of course, also people who have been killed, including members of the United Nations. So a significant amount of loss of life thus far, in particular the loss of individuals. These are not militants, and thus far Israel has killed, I think, during that recapture of that area which had been attacked by Hamas, over 1,000 militants were in fact killed. And so when you certainly are looking at the numbers at this point in time, certainly the brunt of the loss of life has now been within Gaza. Some fighting has also occurred in parts of Lebanon as well as Syria, where we, of course, are aware that there are forces such as Hezbollah, which are aligned and against Israel, and so aligned to Hamas, and we can certainly see that issue may potentially escalate if things continue down the road as they are right now. Effectively, there is a humanitarian crisis afoot in Gaza. We have seen a declaration of the collapse of the health system. Israel has cut off pretty much anything going in, and of course, as a result of that, issues of water, of electricity has pretty much become a place of blackouts, really, because of the lack of fuel. It has effectively led to a humanitarian crisis. In addition to that, even internally, even within that small country of 140, well, that small region of 141 square miles or so, Israel is asking individuals living in northern Gaza, primarily around Gaza City, to in fact evacuate. And so over 1 million people are expected to somehow move. And you can just imagine such a crisis in a population of about 2.5 million, and you're trying to ask about nearly half of that to shift, or 40% of that to shift. It certainly is a very, very difficult situation. Thus far, there's been calls for a ceasefire. The United Nations has called for that ceasefire, but as of now, it does not appear that has happened. Israel seems pretty intent on continuing its efforts at attacking Gaza. And, of course, it's going to be difficult to see how this is going to end up, given the current situation of hostages being held, given the challenges at play, of course, the clear heightened anger on both sides is certainly placing this entire matter into a very, very difficult one. Across the world, in particular the Arab world, we've been seeing quite a number of protests as well, and a lot of those protests aimed against Israel's continued action at this point in time. So we'll have to continue monitoring this and to see how it is going to continue to potentially change as the day goes on. It appears that Israel has been intent on potentially bringing in or bringing forward a ground offensive, and we've seen quite a significant increase in the militarization of that zone around Gaza. It has effectively created an evacuation zone so that the entire area around Gaza, along the along the Israeli border, has in fact been cleared. So all the residents in the various kibbutz in these regions, they've had to move out, they've had to relocate with this impending plan to effectively take the northern section of Gaza. We've still seen some level of rocket fire coming out of Gaza and heading towards nearby Israeli cities close by, like Ashkelon, for example, and of course the buildup of the Israeli Defense Forces in that region has suggested that there is going to be effectively an attack, a ground attack, fairly soon. The IDF has somewhere around 530,000 or so members, and compared to what is effectively in Gaza, believed to be somewhere around 40,000 or so members of the Al-Qassam Brigade. So it does seem to be heading towards what could potentially be even worse than what we've seen thus far. And of course, unfortunately, the individuals who are most affected by this will be the ordinary Palestinian. In terms of loss of life from other countries, I think thus far the highest has been from the United States with 32, Thailand 30, France 30, 24 Ukrainians, 19 Russians. And you'd of course appreciate as well that many people, many Israelis actually have dual citizenship. A lot of them are maybe American and or European, and they've actually come from other parts of the world. And in some instances, you will get a number of those individuals being recorded as well as being from other countries. So it's overall has been certainly perhaps the bloodiest of events in terms of certainly from what we've seen, even when you look way back over the years, and certainly within recent memory, by far it has certainly been the bloodiest action and on both sides being witnessed right now. On the Israeli side, of course, they were seeing it as akin to their 9/11 moment, and in some respects as well. Of course, on the Palestinian side, they're seeing it as a continuation of the Nakba, the period when hundreds of thousands of Palestinians effectively had to flee their homeland for and shift, whether to Egypt, to Jordan, to Syria, and to other parts of the Arab world. And so this matter, of course, is drawing a lot of world attention, and it is going to continue to be just that. There's a lot of analysis that is available and a lot of interest on either end. And, of course, we're seeing the strength of the lobbies depending on where you are going to be based. In particular in the United States, the strength of the Israeli lobby or the Jewish lobby has certainly been the biggest boon for Israel. They have, of course, continued to be the largest recipient of American donor aid and military aid, receiving nearly $4 billion US dollars worth of aid on an annual basis. And so that certainly has been maintained largely by a very, very influential lobby of individuals who may happen to be, largely Jewish, out of the Jewish community, in the Jewish diaspora in the United States, supporting the efforts and protection of the State of Israel. So that is what is at play as we come to and mark the third week since this ongoing war, which has been termed the Israel-Hamas war. Interesting enough, it has not been termed the Israel-Palestine war, but effectively, in some respects, in most respects, it is again Palestinians who are suffering in this unfortunate situation. Now, that brings us to the end of our program. Of course, we do hope that everybody can enjoy their weekend. We do hope that it's going to be a safe one. There has been a lot of traffic management information being put out by the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. So if you are heading on the road this weekend, be sure to follow the necessary traffic management arrangements. In particular, of course, the parking arrangements, because that's where we quite often see people parking on the roadsides, causing lots of backups. And we hope that doesn't happen, especially, of course, on the West Coast Road, where you've got two centers, canneries, as well as Soufrière. So individuals who want to get down to Soufrière, they very well want to consider maybe using the East Coast. I'm not sure if that is a better option. I suspect it might be, given the fact that there's going to be a lot of traffic on that West Coast Road as well. So we do hope that everybody enjoys it, and we'll be back again, God willing, for another week of programming at the Lunchroom next week. I'm your host, Alex George Jr., saying goodbye.